Okay, just a quick video here to give you 7 ways to improve your SEO today. So these are some best practices that Google himself or herself have published over and over and over again. And you can use these 7 quick tips to improve your SEO. I mean, right now, like if you actually make these changes into your site or make these changes for your site or to your site, then the benefits will accrue immediately, which is to say that it's going to have an immediate impact on your search engine rankings. So of course, that's always a good thing. So let's get started. Number 1, create some new content and get it on your site's homepage. I can't tell you how many sites I see that have, copyright 2007, 2008, 2011. Basically, the site and the content hasn't changed for years. And as far as Google is concerned, this is a bad thing. Google basically just responds to what's going on in the general world of search and in the marketplace in general online. And people love fresh content. And because people love to consume fresh content, Google rewards web pages and websites and web properties that are actually actively involved in developing and publishing content. And what I mean by new content, I mean every kind of content. So that's multimedia content, that's audio, that's video, especially video, that's podcasting, everything. And this doesn't have to be super hard. You don't have to make it really, really difficult for yourself. You just have to create some new content. The content has to be unique, and it's an extra added bonus if that content is multimedia in nature. So this is the very, very first thing that you should be doing, that you should be looking at doing to make sure that Google is constantly having a good reason to come back in spite of your site, and is constantly having a good reason to think hard about where your site should be ranking for your chosen keywords. Okay, number 2, speed up your site as much as humanly possible. Google's algorithm rewards sites that have low page load times. And one of the ways you can do that is by delaying the loading of JavaScript and other scripting elements on your page. So so you delay them so that the page is rendered, people can actually see it, and then any JavaScript that's required for fancy interactions or submitting forms or those kinds of things, the kind of JavaScript that doesn't affect the way the page is actually rendered, have that loaded after the page is rendered and visible to the user. Google takes note of this and makes sure that, and rewards pages and websites that are doing everything they possibly can to minimize page load times. So the faster your site is, the better Google estimates the user experience will be. I mean, you yourself, no one likes to sit there and watch a page load for 30 seconds, 40 seconds, a minute. People and your visitors and your users will expect to see your page pop up almost immediately. So if you can do whatever you possibly can to make your page load quicker, then so much the better. Now, number 3 would be to validate your markup and code and ruthlessly eliminate any errors. So there are tools online that you can use that will validate your HTML, which is your markup, and there's tools that you can use online that will have a look at your JavaScript and any other scripting languages that you're using to make sure that there are no errors. Google only sees the raw text on your page, and it knows very well what the HTML best practices are, what the latest coding and scripting best practices are, and if you're violating those best practices or principles, or your code is just flat out wrong, then Google will be penalizing your site heavily. And this is a really, really simple fix. It's just a matter of running your code through a validator. If you have a web developer who's diligent and conscientious, then your page or pages should be relatively free of these errors. But if your page was built a long time ago, say a couple of years ago, there's a very good chance that some of the coding best practices have changed, or some of the or maybe it was done in HTML2 compliant, or when in an era when HTML2 or 3 or 4 was the standard, but HTML5 is the standard now. So you have to be coding to that standard. And over and above that, it's up to you to make sure that your site is cross-browser compliant. And it's absolutely critical to make sure that you're not shooting yourself in the foot by letting Google know that there's errors in your code and script, and over and above Google finding them. Eventually, those errors are going to show up on your site, and they're going to show up to your users and visitors, and that's going to degrade significantly from the user experience, or from the user experience that your users will have. So it does two things. Besides giving you some Google love, it also makes sure that you're not alienating your visitors and potential customers. All right, number 4, you'll need to eliminate or redirect 404 errors so that you have 0 dead links pointing to your site or on your site. Anytime that there's any kind of HTTP error, whether it's 404 or 403, or heaven forbid a server error, an HTTP 500 error, then Google is going to think that, or Googlebot will pretty much assume that you don't care enough about your site to deal with these errors. And if you don't care about it, then why should anybody who's planning on visiting or browsing or searching for your site, why should they be shown something that you don't care about? And Google is entirely focused on customer or user experience. And if your site is throwing errors, that's indicative of a very poor user experience. So Google will heavily penalize you for any of these 404 errors. Now you need to make sure that there are 0 404 errors on your site. And there's a very quick fix to this. And that's by using a 301 redirect to make sure that any 404 errors are sent to a live page. But eventually that has to be resolved so that the dead links themselves are removed. If the dead links are on your site, that's an easy thing to do. But if the dead links are on other sites that are pointing to you, then you need to either disavow those links or contact the webmaster and get rid of them. But do everything in your power to eliminate these 404 errors, because as I said, Google will penalize you very heavily for them. Okay, number 5, you need to check your page URLs and make sure that they're unique, focused, and informative. What I mean by that is Google uses your page URLs, or uses your page URL to help it determine what your site is about. So if you got some crazy PHP generated page URL, then Google just has no idea what your page should be about. So if you can create page URLs that are unique, that goes partway to absolving or solving any duplicate content errors or duplicate content that Google might think is on your page. And it also goes a long way to helping you get indexed and get ranked for specific keywords and key phrases on specific pages. And what I mean by focused and informative is that Google will take the page URL, and that's part of what gets published in its or rendered in its search engine ranking pages, or search engine, the SERPs, the search engine ranking pages. So the more informative you can make those page URLs without keyword stuffing and all that, terrible stuff, the better it's going to be when that page actually gets displayed in Google search results. So your page URLs are extremely important, and it's basically the first line of defense when it comes to what you can be doing for on-page optimization. And it's the first line of defense when it comes to your ability to have some measure of control over what gets rendered on Google's search engine result pages. So check your page URLs and make sure they're unique, focused, and informative. Now, number 6 is something really, really simple, and that's to check and make sure that your image markup is including descriptive keyword-focused alt tags. So Google the algorithm is getting more and more sophisticated as it pertains to images and images on your site and multimedia in general. And your images get, not only do they get indexed and ranked separately, but they get displayed separately. If you go to images.google.com or Google Images, then you should be able to find all the images on your site using the keyword the search utility in Google Images. And if you can't, then you need to do a better job of dealing with your alt tags. And it's just another way that you can let Google know what's actually on your page, what those images. I mean, you're putting an image on there for well, you should be putting images on your site to increase user experience or to make your user experiences better. Of course, people love to consume multimedia, and they love to consume images or look at images and consume video. So Google realizes that, and they're making fundamental changes to the way that they rank pages and images to include the fact that your users love images. So if you ignore the fact that you can add descriptive keyword-rich alt tags to your images, then you're eliminating one way in which Google can A, understand what your page is about, and B, give you an opportunity to rank better for those chosen keywords and key phrases. So make sure that you're doing a good job of specifying or describing what your images are about, and describing what your images are about in relation to the content that's on the page itself. And last but not least, make sure that you're linking out to your social media properties and syndicating all your content. It's not news that social media is the web today. You cannot define the internet without an effective description of social media today. And if your site is devoid of any social media content, then basically Google sees your site as being entirely irrelevant. And if your site is irrelevant, it doesn't belong, and it doesn't fit their model for increased or enhanced user experience, and therefore it's not going to reward you in the rankings. So you need to make sure that your social media presence is front and center on your page, and on every page, front and center on your site, but on every page. You need to make sure that you're linking out to your own social media properties. Google expects that you're active on social media, and it expects to find a consistent web presence across not only your site, but across all the social media platforms as well. And what I mean by syndicating all your content is if you're actually publishing content on your page, then you should be tweeting out an update relative to that content. You should be posting something about that content on your Facebook page. You should be talking about that content on virtually every platform, social media platform that you have reasonable access to. So you need to make sure that your social media presence, that you're not ignoring your social media presence on your website, and that Google knows that there is a consistent social media presence that crosses all these platforms. So those are 7 real simple things that you can do today that will make a dramatic improvement in your SEO virtually overnight. And there isn't a situation that I've seen in doing this for a very long time now that there isn't one of these 7 areas that you can't make some small improvement upon. And if you make one small improvement across a very large number of properties in a very large number of areas, then the sum total of all that is one great big improvement. So I think that's the way to look at it. And good luck with all these things. And if you need any help, of course, you can find us at nextgenseo.com. So good luck with all this, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.